TV, which are Sanofi Genzyme and Celgene, and viewers like you, supporters like you, who make things like this possible tonight. So we thank you, and we're very grateful. And tonight we have our special guest, Lisa Gonzalez Goetz. We're going to be learning about Social Security disability law. We'll be looking at current changes in the laws, anything recent, understanding your rights, and the process in general of applying for Social Security disability, changing benefits, and just updates that you will need to know. Just to give you some background of our guest, Lisa Gonzalez Goetz. She is the founder and partner of Gonzalez and Goetz, practicing in her 29th year. Lisa Gonzalez Goetz has devoted her entire legal career to the area of Social Security disability law. She is a graduate of the class of 1988 of University of Florida in Gainesville, Florida, and Temple Law School in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in 1992. Lisa has been actively representing disabled claimants before the Social Security Administration at all levels of appeal, from the initial application through the appeals process, as well as the U.S. Southern District Court. Since 1992, she has built her practice following her passion and focusing on the rights of people living with disabilities. Because of her knowledge in the field of Social Security disability law, Lisa has been hired as an expert witness in the field of disability in cases involving personal injury and workers' compensation. Lisa Gonzalez Goetz is a member of the Florida Bar Association, the Pennsylvania Bar Association, the National Organization of Social Security Claims Representatives, and the Association of Trial Lawyers of America. Lisa is admitted to the United States District Court in the Southern District of Florida, and she was born and raised in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and now resides in Florida with her husband, David, who is also her business partner, and her 4 children. So we are very excited to have Lisa joining us tonight. She's going to share a wealth of information and experience and her knowledge with us. So we're going to begin by playing a video of an interview with Lisa and Stuart Schlossman, who is the founder of MS Views and News and also a person living with multiple sclerosis. And we'll start that in a minute, just so that you know, if you are only listening on the phone, you cannot hear the video. You can only hear us having our live Q&A after that video. So there'll be about 10 minutes. If you're listening on the phone only, there'll be about 10 minutes of silence while we play this pre-recorded portion, but just stay on the line, and then we'll be back and you'll be able to participate in the Q&A with Lisa. Okay, so let's get started with our interview. Thanks, Bill. Neuro TV, presented by MS Views and News. MS Neuro TV is a comprehensive educational program bringing together MS professionals from across the United States, covering the topics that you want to learn more about. To register for MS Neuro TV webinars, visit www.msviewsandnews.org. Thank you. We hope you enjoy the program.
All right, so everybody, we're here today with Lisa Gonzalez Goetz, who's a disability attorney, very well known here in Florida, and for what she does around the United States to bring good fortune, I guess I could say, to those that are waiting for their disability benefits. And so we have a few questions for Lisa. One, I want to ask her to please explain to the audience what she does as a disability attorney, and that will be the first question.
Hi, so as a disability attorney, I represent the disabled non-workers, so people who are disabled and unable to work 40 hours a week on a consistent basis, and I represent them before the Social Security Administration to get their benefits.
Great. So why would a patient, in this case an MS patient, want to work with a disability attorney rather than do this by themselves?
So I would never suggest anybody do it by themselves because it's a very rigorous, detailed, full of paperwork practice where you have to complete questions, timely submit them. There are a lot of statutes and deadlines and a lot of information gathering. So my suggestion is always to find an attorney in your area or an attorney who specializes in Social Security disability and find out how they can help you. Most attorneys actually are not able to charge unless they win a case. And so anybody is able to help you. And an attorney that is well-versed in this can expedite it and make it more streamlined for you.
Fantastic, thank you. Can you tell us the difference between SSI and SSDI, or DIB, how it's also known?
Okay, so there are a couple different programs under the system which can enable you to collect money for Social Security benefits. One program is a Title 16 program known as SSI, and that's Supplemental Security Income, and that's based on people who have never worked or have very low earnings, so they qualify under Title 16. Most of the general community calls it SSDI when they're referring generically to Social Security, but it's actually DIB, which is Title II, and it's based on your earnings. And that amount that you receive per month varies based on your income.
Thank you for saying that. So, knowing the process closely, what would you tell someone who is considering applying for disability to do it, or when to begin?
Well, it really depends on the disability, and as an MS patient, before you begin to suffer from anxiety and worries, you do it before your illness progresses. So the government will really say it's when you can't work anymore 40 hours a week on a consistent basis. My suggestion and advice would be to apply as soon as you feel that you may not be able to do the 40 hours continuously, so that by the time you get your benefits, you have not deteriorated.
Thank you. Can you please share with us common misconceptions about disability benefits?
Oh, yeah. There are many. The number one thing is that a lot of people say, oh, we have people that are applying for disability benefits and they're faking it. They're lying to the government. They're trying to just collect their money. And actually the monies that they're receiving, they either worked for and earned, or there's very little money based on welfare statutes. So most people are really looking for the Medicaid or Medicare that comes with disability. And one of the misconceptions that everybody has is that they're just looking for money. So with the income that you get monthly and the health insurance, it's our position that it actually helps you from having a progressive illness that makes you deteriorate, and that gives you the peace of mind that you can to plateau and improve in your illness.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
In general, how long would one expect to wait before obtaining approval for disability once an application is completed?
Okay, so the times vary based on where you live, and you can Google it or call for information. We are always available. But I would say that you have to be out of work for 12 months or more before they consider that you qualify for disability, or have an impairment that's expected to last 12 months. So at the very least, you can expect to be out of work for 12 months, which my advice to you is to get the support from family and friends, because it's an arduous, long track. There are offices like the Fort Lauderdale office of Office of Hearings is taking right now over 365 days from the time you request a hearing. So cases are really taking 18 to 24 months generally.
So going off track a little bit, recently somebody contacted me and said to me, what do they have to do to get Medicare? That they were approved for SSDI 2 years ago, and they still have not been approved for Medicare. What is the process now for this?
Okay, so it falls within the same purview. So you file for Social Security benefits, and if you've worked under Title II, that's what entitles you for Medicare. You have to show that you've been disabled for 29 months. So it's actually 2 years, 5 months from the date you became disabled. So in this case, if the person's receiving benefits back 2 years, they have 5 more months to wait. This 29-month period was arbitrary. It was put on by Congress, and anybody who's receiving Medicare has to be disabled. 29 months waiting time before they receive their Medicare.
Great, thank you for that. Now, this next question I know has been answered a lot in what you just were answering with other things, but maybe there's something new in here. What are today's current laws and rules in 2019 that individuals on Social Security disability income or Social Security or SSI should know and understand better?
Okay, know that for 2019, the expected wait time has increased. So almost everything is done online now. Very little person-to-person interviews or applications online. Almost everything is done at every level online. The amounts of denials have also increased, so you can hope to find somebody who's going to handle your case and be able to appeal the necessary appeals so that you could be successful. 2019 is also showing a little bit of increase with how much amount of money that you can work. But if you're familiar with any of the videos that we have put together, always be careful with the amount of work that you put. Do not work up to the limit, because that opens the door and red flags your case that maybe you're keeping your income artificially low.
Great. Thank you very much, Lisa.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you for coming here today.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Okay.
And this is Stuart Schlossman from MS Views and News, and we do thank you for listening to today's program. Have a great day. We'll see you at the next.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, everyone, this is Jennifer. I'm back, and wow, there's a lot of information that Lisa shared with us. Lisa's going to be on the line with us in a minute. I just wanted to let you all know, now is the time, if you haven't started typing in your questions yet, to start typing in your questions for me to relay to Lisa. If you see on your screen, there should be a little red or orange arrow. You can click on that. It should open up the control panel for you, and you can send and type in your messages. I do have a lot of questions that have been provided to me before we started today, so I'm going to start with those, and I will try to get to as many questions as possible tonight. I'm going to take them in the order that they come in, and they're anonymous, so you can just type away, and whatever is pressing for you, I will try to relay all of that to Lisa. So welcome, Lisa. How are you?
Hi, good. Can you hear me?
Yes, welcome.
Okay, great. Thank you. Great to be here.
That was a great interview that you and Stuart did. But that interview was done probably about 5 or 6 months ago. So I'm wondering, just to start off, it's 2019, it was 6 months ago. Have there been any major changes or updates in Social Security disability law that you think our audience should know about?
No changes. What I do want to let everybody know is that anytime we are approaching an election year, which of course is not yet, but it's coming, there are a little more stringent requirements that are met. So if you're working, they look at that a little closer. They may do reviews a little bit more. And they do, during election years, deny clients that are applying a little more frequently. It doesn't mean that you can't win the case. It just means that they do get a little more strict, because it saves a lot of money from the coffers of the government. So for that reason, I've found that every time it's an election year, that starts shifting a little bit more, and they get a little more conservative with the payments of Social Security disability benefits.
That's interesting. I have a question coming in from our audience that's talking about applying early. You mentioned in your interview that you must be out of work for 12 months prior to applying. That's correct, 12 months?
Yes, but not necessarily 12 months prior to applying.
Okay.
You have to be disabled for 12 months or more to qualify for disability. So you have to be out of work for 12 months.
Right.
You can start the process as soon as you're out of work. You could technically be out of work a day or two, a week, a month, or even that year, but you could be out of work immediately and say, my illness is going to prevent me from working for more than 12 months. So if that's the case, you can apply even if you worked last week for the last time. Does that make sense?
Yes. And I just want to ask you, when you say out of work, how would you recommend a person leaving work? Do they put in their resignation? Is there a certain way that a person has to leave correctly that would be supportive of their case?
There is no way to leave work correctly. Some people take a short-term or long-term disability that they've paid for through their company. Some people are actually fired because they're not able to maintain the standards of work, which is 40 hours on a consistent basis, and have too many absences. Some people just kind of linger off work and finally just don't go back. So there's no particular way to get off work. The only thing that would be detrimental to your case is in instances where people are let go and collect unemployment. That gets a little dicey, because when you collect unemployment, you are actually stating that you're willing and able to work. And in that case, Social Security can turn around and say that's an unemployment issue if you can't find work. And so many times we say, well, you're willing to work, but you haven't been able to. So any time that there's an unemployment issue, it may bring other things to light. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Okay, but that's the only real issue with how you stopped working or why you stopped working.
I see. Okay, thank you. Someone is asking if it matters. If it matters if there's money, if they have money in their savings account or have any kinds of investments or checking accounts, does that affect if you would get approved or not?
Sure. So this is a common question, and what happens is that there's multiple types of disability. So rule of thumb is that if you have worked and paid Social Security benefits in, and you've worked 5 out of the last 10 years, and that's just the rule of thumb, 5 years out of the last 10 years, then you're collecting under the monies that you paid into the system, and any amount of money you have by savings, life insurance, bonds, stocks, it does not matter. Okay, it doesn't interfere with your ability to get benefits. Some people are too young to have worked 5 out of the last 10 years and are still disabled. Some people have worked maybe 3 or not really consistent. So they would qualify for another type of benefit that's called Title 16 and the SSI benefits. And in that case, yes, it matters. You have to meet the financial criteria as well as the medical criteria. So you have to show that you're indigent, and that changes every year. And currently you have to have total resources of less than $2,000. And they investigate that pretty clearly. So yes and no, your resources only matter if you've not worked consistently or you don't have a work history.
Okay, great, thank you. I have someone writing in saying that she was denied 4 times and doesn't know what to do. What do you recommend to a person that has applied and has been denied that many times?
Okay, statistically, I believe the denial rates are upwards of 90%, being 93, 94, 97% at the initial rate level and then at the reconsideration level. If you have been denied, the first question I would ask anybody is, when was the last denial date? If it was less than 60 days ago, then you can appeal it. They give you an additional 5 days for mailing. So if your denial date, which is found on the letter that you get on the right upper corner, based on that, you know if you appeal. Let's say that it's been more than 60 days, then you need to file a new application. And once that application gets in front of a judge, then you can reopen, or you can try to ask the judge to reopen your previous denials. So those denials matter because we're trying to go back as far as possible. If you were disabled back then, they're very important. But the denials and how many times are not uncommon. What happens is that people get tired and don't really appeal it timely. So they have to start all over again.
Okay, Lisa. So let me ask you this. Somebody's asking me if they have really no money, a very limited financial situation, how would they hire a disability attorney? How does it work to, say, pay somebody like you to represent them in this process?
Sure. So there are less and less attorneys that are really dedicated to representing disabled people before Social Security. So every attorney, and it's happening because the cases take a very long time, and the attorneys don't get paid unless the case is won. So our fees are very, and this is nationwide, worldwide, any attorney handling disability cases. Our cases are statutory. All our fees have to be approved by the government. So you come on as a client to any attorney. For example, we never charge anything out of pocket when a person comes in. We only take the cases we believe we can win because we put a lot of time, energy, effort, resources behind the case. At the time that the case is successfully won, the person receiving benefits is entitled to back pay all the way back to when they first stopped working, when they became entitled to. And all that money gets accumulated per month, and the government then pays the client from that money. The attorneys, if they're successful, they get 25% of the retroactive fee, but we are capped at $6,000. So I've had clients that get $2,000 retroactive, $20,000 retroactive, or $90,000 retroactive. our fees are still $6,000. 13 years ago, our max fee was $4,000. Then it went up to our max fee of $6,000. So not having resources, nobody, right now when you're applying for disability, you're out of work by definition, you're sick, you're medicated, you're stressed because you have treatment issues, medical bills, stressors in the house because things are not the way they used to be. So the last thing that you're going to be able to do in many instances is write a check out. And so the process of this type of law is 100% contingency. And the attorneys get paid up until their max fee, which is right now $6,000, whether we take your case at initial level or at the reconsideration or at the hearing level. So you're paying for the attorney and you're paying the exact same amount. So my suggestion would always be to go to the attorney as soon as possible. Not every attorney, though, Jen, takes these cases at initial because of the restrictions that we have with our payment fees and the work involved in the cases. Some attorneys will say, come to us when you have a hearing scheduled. Our office and the way, I kind of created our practices to take the case from the very beginning and build it up so that every medical record that goes in, every questionnaire that has been compiled, we've looked at, we make sure that there's nothing there that will jeopardize your ability to get benefits. So there's a whole process with that. And in general, in this type of practice, no attorney should ever take any money up front. Now, there have been some attorneys that will say, because I'm getting your medical records, you need to give me $500 so that I can use that money to secure your medical records. You may have that, and that's technically legal, but we as a practice in my firm, we don't do that. We take only cases where a person has all the medical evidence, is not working, qualifies, the government's denying, and we go ahead and appeal the case and apply if we need to, but we don't take any money up front. So having no money should not be a barrier to getting what you're entitled to.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, that's there's a lot of questions. I'm trying to kind of combine them together and get the best out of your time with us. But,
okay, but also listen, not to interrupt you, but I have no problem receiving questions through my email. And that way, if time does not permit for all the questions, and some are more specific than others, that's fine. They can go ahead and email me if they want. And
that's wonderful. Thank you.
Am I able to give them my email now?
You can, absolutely.
Okay. Just for informational purposes, if I give any suggestions, it's, just based on the questions, that's fine. My name is Lisa, Lisa, and my email is lisa at GG for Gonzalez Goetz, GG Law, LAW.info. And depending on the volume of questions I get, of course, I won't be returning them within 24 hours. It may take a little bit longer, but I do return all my emails. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lisa. That's wonderful because we do have a lot of people, and the questions are really complex. I know because it's just a complex process. So somebody's asking, is it harder to prove or justify or somehow get disability benefits when it's only cognitive challenges with MS? And I know you were experienced with MS. You work with a lot of the community. So what is your experience there when it's only cognitive but not physical? Is it harder?
No, it's not harder. It's not harder, and I can really take this question and run and talk about it for half an hour, but the short answer is it's not harder. As long as your medical doctor, neurologist, anybody who's actually treating you can really delineate the cognitive impairments and they prevent you from working, it's not harder at all. Because if your concentration, memory, ability to focus is impaired, then there's no work, even unskilled work, that you could do on a competitive basis. One of the easiest jobs that's always documented by Social Security that people can do is security surveillance monitor, where you stare at a TV, for example, or an assisted living companion. So you don't really have to give medicines to a person in a nursing home. You just kind of sit with them and watch TV with them. But if you have cognitive impairments and they prevent you from focusing and understanding what's going on with your memory and your affect, then those jobs, no matter how simple, would not be able to be performed. So for that, as long as your doctor is supporting you, you should be fine. Okay?
Yes, thank you. And I know you're mentioning documentation. How do you recommend to your clients to collect and gather the right documents in a way that they would need to present to a disability attorney? How does that process usually go?
Okay, so I can't speak for any other attorney. I can only speak for myself and my practice, and we secure all the medical records. So I don't really need to have anybody secure documentation a particular way. What I do need them to do is to really trust their doctors, really trust that their doctors believe they're disabled and will help them through the process. It's very important that when you do go to a doctor, you complain and you have a note so that you can actually explain to them all the nuances, all the difficulties you've had. Because what I find is that people go to their doctor and say, I'm okay, and they just get their script and the doctors write on their notes, patient is okay, no complaints, stable, and they're not telling them maybe they don't have new deterioration and complaints, but they do have, they're dropping their glasses and they're not able to cook. Their foot is making it difficult to walk in unbalanced surfaces. They're finding driving more difficult. They're getting fatigued, or the temperature is really affecting them, or they're getting migraines and they're spending 2 days or 3 days in bed, and that happened maybe 3 weeks ago. So I would say, Jen, it's really, really important that if this happens in between visits, that you are your best advocate. You keep a calendar, you keep something so that when you go to the doctor, you can say, to you 3 weeks ago may feel like a long time ago, but when it was happening, it was very intense. You want the doctor to know that. So once the doctor writes it in their notes, we secure those notes, then we can present that to the judge and really advocate for you based on those records.
Okay.
Without those records, it's really, really hard.
So don't keep these things to yourself, even if they're not occurring anymore. When you go to see your doctor, report all of your experiences and what's been going on with you since your last appointment, so it's documented.
Right. So as an example, recently when I was watching those the MS camp with the children, I documented my observations, and I was looking at these MS patients and their difficulties, and I saw them with cooling pads. I saw them with migraines. I saw them have to rest. I saw them with fatigue. I saw them they went from a cane to a walker after a certain period of time in the day. I saw them they didn't know what their medications were. It had to be written, and they had to look at their cheat sheet to remind them how much to take and what they took. So all these things together shows that it's like a full-time job almost to take care of yourself. So you want to make sure that your doctor knows how tedious it has been to live with MS.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to see some more questions here. Hold on just a second, Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
While I go through the questions, a lot of people are asking, can you provide your email one more time? Since I don't have
Of course.
I have a slide for you, but I don't have it up.
Of course. It's really an easy email. It's my name, which is Lisa, Lisa. And then it's, for my last name, it's 2 G's, GG, Lisa at gglaw.info. Lisa at gglaw.info. Okay?
Okay, great.
And if you don't have it, you can always look on the MS Visa News website. I'm sure all my information is there also, and the phone number. But if you want to kind of reach me directly, because I have a lot of people that take care and field a lot of calls. But if you want, me to be the one directly to answer your question, it's fine. It's Lisa at gglaw.info.
Thank you, Lisa. And I'm going to send out an email to all of our guests tonight with that information afterwards, guys. So don't worry. If you didn't catch it, I will send you a follow-up email so you can reach out to Lisa with your questions. Lisa, you and I were speaking before this program began, and I wanted you to share with the audience about somebody who maybe has been on Social Security disability, has been receiving benefits, but has been well for a certain period of time. Can you tell us, some people fear losing their benefits because they haven't been maybe as sick or felt as much disability as maybe 3 years ago. Can you talk about the process of getting a review?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's something called CDR, Continuing Disability Review. And what it is basically is when you receive Social Security disability benefits, you understand that at any time Social Security can request your medical updates and make sure that you're going to doctors, make sure that your condition hasn't improved, and make sure that you are still considered disabled. So when Social Security comes knocking on the door, you have to make sure that you have the medical records to prove that even if, let's say, you're stable, you're in a period of where you're stable, that even though you're stable, you're still disabled. And those are called continuing disability reviews. I think that in the next year or so, you may start seeing even more continuing disability reviews, again, as we approach a new election cycle. It doesn't mean that they're taking the benefits away from you. It just means that they want to kind of see that you're still going to doctors and that your condition is still as severe as it was. If at any time they are challenging to take your benefits away based on that continuing disability review, then you should really seek legal advice right away, because how you handle that part is very case specific. So basically, continue going to your doctors, continue always detailing your difficulties and your complaints, always complain, always have it documented. Supply Social Security if they ever reach you with whatever it is they want to know. And if you hear anything that's negative, then there's a lot of red flags, and definitely shoot me an email and we'll see what that's about. But in general, these reviews are meant more for younger people, although I've seen 58-year-olds and 62-year-olds have this happen, but not very frequently. And for cases other than MS. MS is known to be a progressive illness, so continuing disability reviews are not as frequent with MS. But sometimes it's just based on whoever's doing the review and just picks up the case. So just treat it seriously and make sure that your doctor is aware that those records need to be sent to Social Security if they request them. Okay.
Okay. Great, thank you. I'm going to ask one more question. They're all important questions, and I'm so glad that you'll be able to answer them after the webinar. I'm sorry that I can't get to more. This question has been asked before at our programs, Lisa, and they're asking your opinion. What do you feel the future of Social Security in terms of running out of money or not being in existence anymore? What is your opinion of that happening?
I'm not a worrier. Okay. So this has been going on almost as long as I've been practicing. I have all my eggs in one basket of representing the disabled before Social Security. My entire household income relies on it, and I'm not worried. So, I think it's too much of a voting issue. I know they're saying that we're going to run out of money. I find that really hard to believe that in our lifetime. I think maybe for our children's children, we're going to have issues. But at this stage, for people that are receiving benefits, I don't think they're going to touch it. When our president came into office, right now, our current president, Trump, he changed overnight the tax law. He changed overnight immigration, and Social Security has remained untouched. It just kind of, it's too much of a cross-section of the population, in my estimate, that they're not going to really play with that right now. It's too much of a knee-jerk reaction. Any candidate that tries to say anything about Social Security is probably not going to be elected. And when it comes to finding money, they seem to find money for things that we didn't know we had money for. So I'm not a worrier, and I'm committed to this kind of practice. If I felt that, I know they're trying to squeeze Social Security attorneys out, because the less attorneys that represent claimants, the less they have to pay out. So that makes sense. But at the federal level, Social Security has to pay out more than what they want to, and they're doing it. So I'm not worried, Jen. I may live to regret it, but I really don't think so. I've heard it for a long, long time. I get my in-laws sending me articles all the time about it, and I'm not worried.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Lisa, for joining us tonight.
You're welcome.
Some light on this really complicated information. We really appreciate it. And I know you're going to get a lot of questions because unfortunately we couldn't get to everyone's. And I thank you so much for being with us here tonight.
Oh, you're welcome. And for anybody that needs or just wants to ask any questions, I'm always available. You're very welcome. Okay.
Thank you for your commitment to this work, and it's touched so many people in the MS community. We're very grateful.
Well, me too. I'm happy I can help. Have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. And I'm just gonna bye-bye.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna close up now and just do some closing words with everybody. Again, thank you, and just. If anybody who is new to MS Neuro TV tonight, just know that now you are registered for the series. So every month we do this, and every month we have someone wonderful like Lisa come back and share their information and their knowledge with us. Next month's topic is MS relapse, recognizing relapse, recognizing different treatment options, trying to define a pseudo relapse from what is a real relapse, and possible triggers. And nurse practitioner who's MS certified, Patricia Pagnato, who is wonderful, will be joining us next month.